Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The Daily Ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. We have all newly released Wendell and Wild by Henry Selick, The Wander, directed by Sebastian Lelio, The Banshees of Inisherin by Martin McDonagh, She Said by Maria Schrader, and finally, The Menu, directed by Mark Millard. It's going to be a great show, so stay tuned and enjoy. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing, buddy?
Thomas, how's it going?
It's going okay for me. You had a movie theater-filled week.
Oh, yeah. This was putting in time. This is I think, first time on the podcast, all 5 new releases.
It might, yeah, because I think we've done 4 once or twice.
But all 5. And granted, some help from Netflix. But yeah, happy to do it. We'll call it, how about them apples? that is all 5 when it's all 5 new releases in the slot. So.
Yeah, very exciting. And we have a different array of stuff, too, here.
Yeah, definitely a lot of Oscar buzz among some of these performances. Really excited for a lot of the talent around this, and overall, it was a good week.
Oh, good. So. Okay. So let's start this right away. They're all new releases, but we'll do the Netflix releases first. Then we'll go into our producer segment.
I like that.
And then end with the actual in-theater ones. Okay, so this is an animated film here. This is Wendell and Wild. And if you could kind of set up a little bit what studio we're working with here.
Sure.
And again, it's a Netflix release.
Yeah. A little late to get to this one. Kind of missed the boat for the spooky-focused month. But Henry Selick is back directing after an incredibly long time. 13 years. Yeah. Coraline was his last thing. And obviously, he was working with many different studios in kind of more of a production capacity, or producer, rather, capacity. But if you don't know the name, he is an absolute legend in stop-motion animation. Of course, doing Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach... James and the Giant Peach.
The sequel coming up.
Yeah. It's a war film. And Coraline, which is very much revered. But 2009 is the last thing he did that he's directing and that he's animating. Was
there reasoning behind that? Do you know of watched interviews or anything like that?
He was interacting with the same studio that did Kubo and the Two Strings. Laika? Yeah, that's right. And yeah, he stepped away from Laika. I don't know, maybe the gap between 15 and now. But yeah, he's back in the saddle. So I was a little bit. It was a bit odd to see his return as a Halloween-themed Netflix movie. Obviously, Halloween is his, or spooky things.
That's his
comfort zone. Yeah, I thought this was decent. Definitely not great. I thought it was decent. The story follows a punk rock 13-year-old girl, Kat, who becomes entangled with 2 demons, Wendell and Wild. She brings them to our world, and bringing them to our world through a ritual is a chance for her to see her dead parents. And as kind of plays out, the demons have their own scheme. They have their own plans. Key and Peele voice the demons here.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and they do a great job. The demons they have their own kind of scheme to open up a fair. There's a weird like purgatory or hell is portrayed as a scream fair. They want to open up their own. So yeah, it's cute. Let's let's start with somewhere, and that's the stop motion. That's really why I was interested in this film, not necessarily for the subject. Selick's style for lighting and larger-than-life set pieces is really on full display here. Pretty much anytime we're in hell, it looks like the best of what we see in Oogie Boogie scenes from Nightmare Before Christmas. That means very dramatic lighting, sometimes almost kind of tricks with black light, where colors are highlighted and ultra vibrant in spaces. And again, it's kind of marvelous to see the scale that he's built up to, creating big set pieces within the stop motion, and definitely that's kind of where the bar is now with modern stop motion. It's creating as kind of complex scenarios as possible,
right,
kind of a one-upmanship or an arms race to who has the craziest, most complex stop motion, most demanding stop motion. And yeah, I mean, this on here is great. The big picture is just awesome. Scenes, believe it or not, have great camera work. It's fantastic. There's kind of a layered effect. You actually see this in mundane scenes as well. Kat's room that she goes into has just a very simple, 4 layers to it that gives this kind of depth of field that you kind of see through the open door to her room. Just very interesting because you have little moving parts, like the radiator in the corner is constantly jittering and whatnot. And again, the appreciation for stop motion is that you have to understand every single frame, something is moving to create movement, in the end result of it.
And was there anything different here that you've seen before?
I can't say so. And believe me, I'm a big appreciator of stop motion.
Well, and him especially, coming off of Coraline. Coraline was the one he did before this?
Yeah, 2009, way back, but yeah.
So was it perfecting that, or was it just, okay, here's just another good stop motion animated film?
I think it was just another one. A lot of emphasis is put on Key and Peele as well.
Of course,
being kind of celebrity talent here. One note, I mean, I'm not behind. I'm certainly not putting the tireless hours that it takes to stop motion animate, but the mouth movements were a little bit lower frame rate. They weren't as detailed, and I feel like that's a step backwards, actually.
Okay.
Especially, I mean, Selick is the one that brought singing to stop motion, so he knows what it takes to show kind of enunciation and lip movements even in these models. So that was a little bit of step backwards for me, but not terrible.
Okay,
like I said, this was solid, not great though.
And I guess for Netflix too, I guess that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because Nightmare Before Christmas is just the production and the years behind it.
Yeah.
I guess
Disney money.
Yeah,
for sure. That's good bridge to performances, though. Like I said, Key and Peele are good. I wouldn't say they're super, super funny. I was kind of expecting them to be funnier. And also seeing Jordan Peele go back to the duo after being a director now for so long.
He did work on the screenplay as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. They played together in Demons, as demons, I think the stop motion figures look exactly like them. They have kind of an energy that reminded me of the imps in Hercules. Back, there's kind of a mischievousness, a playfulness there. Story-wise, I think my problem with it is that there's just too much of a divide between our two fun demons that every scene works, and our main girl Kat, who's having this kind of very serious, very dramatic grieving of her parents and kind of finding her way in a coming of age. I think my problem isn't with the two tones being juggled. It's more so we spend far too much time with them apart, and the film just kind of feels disjointed, especially when we're looking forward to Key and Peele as the strong suit on screen. So
what's the ratio of time spent? Because Lyric Ross technically is kind of the lead because she plays Kat.
Yes. I think she is the lead for sure.
Okay. It's just also a lot of Key and Peele because
they're doing the thing. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, and that's both sides are enjoyable, but I think it was just a bit too disconnected. I think even for a kid, let's think about the demographic here. Tweens, young adult kid. I still think I don't know. By the time things come together, it's just still too disjointed. It doesn't feel like it has good electricity as far as the script goes. half the moral message, and then the other half is demons having fun trying to open up a fair, and they kind of don't work together. It's all good, but not great for that reason, for lack of gelling. So, and like I said, I thought it was decent. Some closing notes is has a really fun punk rock soundtrack with some deep cuts.
Okay, that's cool. Does it help it flow pretty well?
I think so. There's some fun scenes with it. Also, just deep cuts into hardcore punk rock. Band Death is referenced in here, which I was really excited to see. Selleck also wonderfully keeps up with in line of skeletons being in stop motion. Feels very reminiscent of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah,
and
his favorite thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And when you look at the guy, it's like, he's not emo. He's not like goth or anything.
It does look a little creepy though.
Yeah,
in his older age.
Yeah, like I said, the story is very tween.
I'll say this: it's rated PG-13.
Okay,
which is surprising. And what do you think about that? Because I don't know.
I'm trying to think where they slapped that on this film. Actually,
I mean, it's on Netflix, so no one even cares.
Right? Exactly.
But that's kind of weird to have a film like this and have it be rated PG-13.
I agree. Yeah.
If you
maybe
really
just
want to
dealing
talk
with death, perhaps. Not the band, but the concept. But yeah, it is. I think the story is there to be kind of feel good when it finally comes together by the end, and I think in that kind of summarizes my feeling on it, that it's just a good Netflix watch. Maybe next Halloween, nothing to really race to.
Yeah.
And that's even with me having such an incredible appreciation for the art that goes into it.
Well, maybe it really just comes down to if you're going ahead and watching Coraline and Nightmare.
Sure.
Yeah. Throw this in the mix.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe it doesn't deserve. It's probably number 3 if you were to tier them. But that could be a watch within that realm and everything like that. Just an overall good October watch.
I think
if
so.
That's your deal.
I think so. And again, those few last notes with the punk rock aesthetic to it, Key and Peele. There are other things to bring in audiences that wouldn't even bother paying attention to, like an animated film like this.
Okay.
So, with that said, we are going to go ahead and give Wendell and Wild a 63.
Ooh, 63. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, that's an all right movie. And then PG-13 for thematic material, violence, substance abuse, and brief, strong language.
Oh, there is, yeah. Wendell and Wild as the demons, they get like high. They like trip on like this this hair recovery for their demon father. Yeah, so that has to be it actually.
Well, it's still a little strange because your lead is 13 years old, and then you technically, you're not supposed to have 13-year. It's just the watching age starts at 13.
And your point, why does that even matter on Netflix?
It does, and on Netflix it doesn't matter.
I think the only divide should be G and above, honestly, for a kid's profile or
Wendell
whatever.
and Wild, straight to blonde.
It's true. So true. Someone's going to stumble on it in that exact order, too.
Okay, so that's Wendell and Wild with a 63%. We'll move on to the next Netflix release here. This is called The Wonder, directed by Sebastian Lelio. And what do we get with this film here?
So back again with Florence Pugh after the very mixed Don't Worry, Darling.
Yes. But she was the best part of Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, yes. And I have to say, Florence is an actress that I really find myself looking forward to, like an Adam Driver, that I get excited when I see,
every
new
time
things.
she's in something, your praise is getting higher and higher with her. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just find her, there's a certain electricness on screen, like an Adam Driver, that I can't even explain. Even both of those physically, I mean, it's not like they're the best looking actors or actresses.
They're very much not. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
she's all right. I mean, okay.
Absolutely. But it's just I find myself very much looking forward to when they come around.
Their acting is actually good.
Yeah, exactly. This film is an oddball. We're gonna have some oddballs this week. I feel like art house, maybe a little bit of a description, especially when talking about some of the, or actually the next film that we'll talk about with Banshees. But The Wonder is a film set in 1862 Ireland. The Wonder refers to a young girl seemingly that has no hunger and hasn't eaten for 4 months. I'll probably mention this a few times, that the tone here is, or maybe even the theming is, science versus religion, or maybe science versus superstition a little bit.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Pugh plays a very tough English nurse that is contracted to observe the child, not interact with the child, but just kind of, take notes. In her approach, she's very strict, she's very scientific, but she's confronted with different worldviews and very deep religion that creates kind of the drama and conflict. It's kind of hard to pin what the drama and conflict is in this film. And I think it's more so the pressure of Pugh being this character being an outsider and confronted, I don't want to say with backwoods, but her science, her method is confronted with, the very rural environment that she's around, if that makes sense.
Kind of.
Okay.
No, it makes sense. I'm interested. I'm so confused with what the movie is. And maybe for a good reason then.
Yeah. It is. It's very slow, very A24. It really is about. I mean, the entire runtime is Pugh spending time with this little girl that is not eating, kind of going through it. It's yeah. The film also has kind of a slight meta quality to it, with a narrator speaking directly to the audience occasionally. Definitely a little confusing at first. I really wasn't getting why that was the case, but it does, at least on a surface level, add to the mystery or the feeling of everything.
Okay.
And this is a mystery. It's kind of mystery drama because Pugh's character is problem solving ultimately.
Okay.
How is this little girl not eating? No less for 4+ months. And on top of that as well, there is kind of a mystery to why we're observing these events coming from the narration. Interesting film, though. It was super slow. This is this could be what I always say. I feel like I've been good without saying slow burn, but it is slow burn. And it's really good because of the unfolding mystery. I really enjoyed the tone here. Performances were on point. This kind of cold, windy setting creates a dark mood to the whole film. And, with this being in Ireland, echoes of famine, of the potato famine, definitely brought up contextually in conversation, felt through characters as well. And it kind of just creates an interesting tone that Florence is an outsider coming to this land, that it's not like that she actively disagrees with religion or she's putting people down, but it's just so contrary to her worldview and how she performs as a nurse. That's where the conflict is. So,
for an hour and 48 minutes, is it gripping enough for you to be enjoying it?
I think so. I liked it quite a bit.
Okay.
I think, again, that's where I say slow burn, though, because some people are going to think this film is just way too slow.
Okay.
Way too slow.
Okay.
There's a slight disturbing tone as well in seeing the families and locals through Pugh's character's eyes. She has such a polar opposite end of the spectrum that it's almost cast a little bit menacing. There's almost a kind of a foreboding tone of what's actually going to happen here, of her being involved in this rural area. I would say my only other highlight here is cinematography, and it was great. A lot of great landscape showing the vastness of the area. And again, kind of leaning into some of my notes for Banshees of Inisherin, just the landscape of Ireland is just so,
it sets
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Cold, windy.
Yes. It sets its own mood big time.
Yeah.
It plays its own character, kind of.
Yeah. And oddly enough, a character in itself, for both of these films, because they kind of take this, this moody, sullen tone to it. I would say cinematography, it's specifically interior shots as well, that the lighting is very interesting in this film. Very realistic lighting, honestly. There's not a light in the room that is not organically there through a candle or through sunlight shining in. And most shots are very dark for that reason. These kind of poorly lit old houses create an interesting, unique outline. There's a very good transition that uses shadows on a blanket to transition into a mountain.
That's pretty cool.
And I was really digging it. So it was good stuff. Other than that, like I said, I think this will hit for A24 crowd, both for its slowness and the feel of the film, kind of a foreboding twistedness. And I think it was a solid release for Netflix. Another feather in the cap of Florence Pugh, and I will be watching regardless. We're going to go ahead and give The Wonder a 73.
Wow, 73 is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I don't know if this was really on anybody's radar.
Very true.
But, I mean, a 73 is most people should be checking this out.
I think so. And I think Florence does a very good job here. I mean, I don't want to say nod for Best Actress, but...
she's good, though.
Yeah, she's good. I really always enjoy her.
Well, she's coming up in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Including one of them was Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan's new film.
Oh, she's in that?
She plays, I think, the lead or something like that with Cillian Murphy.
Wow.
So that's going to be good.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
So. But, all right. I mean, I love... name another young actress that we're excited to see every time.
Right, exactly.
There's a few actors that we can say about that, but other than that, I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Vin. So that's The Wonder, folks, with a 73%, and I think I'm going to check it out because I would like to go through back Pew's kind of back catalog,
absolutely,
and see what the big hype is about because you've been repping it pretty good for her.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're going to go into our producer segment like we were talking about, folks, before we get into our now kind of in theaters films. And Vin, we do have a producer this week, and we have Matt D once again coming in
with a vengeance,
and with his famous double donation of $5 each.
The 1-2.
All right, so Matt, you wrote in and said, question for Tom. He said, I'm interested in your thoughts on an actor who has quite the storied career. He's been nominated for the full EGOT.
Oh.
Which is what, by the way? I forget what the EGOT
is. Emmys, Grammys, Oscar, Tony.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, shit. Okay, so he's been nominated for the full EGOT, has more SAG wins than Tom Hanks, more BAFTA nominations than Daniel Craig, and more Golden Globe noms than John Wayne. The prolific and inimitable, is that a word?
I don't know.
Shit, Matt's too smart. I mean, there's a word I can't even pronounce here. Anyway, the prolific, the inimitable?
I don't know. I would have to see
Anyway, Mark Ruffalo.
Did
you know Mark Ruffalo had more SAG wins than Tom Hanks? That's crazy.
I mean, that doesn't make me happy.
As we've noted, Tom Hanks isn't the greatest technically, but still
better than Ruffalo.
Wow, more Golden Globes than John Wayne. I guess that's not too surprising. He's not the most.
Not the most credible.
I mean, I love John Wayne, but he's not the. Yeah, he doesn't have his award shelf isn't.
How does
exactly
that make
full.
you feel, Tom?
I don't know.
Get it all out.
My thoughts on that, Matt D. That's an embarrassment. For every institution that gave him those awards. I think that's what.
For the EGOT itself.
Okay, so let's read Matt's second note here. He said, I appreciate the further discussion of the badge idea. Okay, here we go. Buckle up. I agree that too many would invalidate the discussion on the podcast, but I do see room for at least a handful. It could be sort of a unique part of the brand. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of what we're talking about.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. And honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's rare that we come across the so bad it's good, but it's definitely going to be. I'm going to come across it sooner or later.
No, we definitely like it for that, for sure. And folks, we were kind of talking about so bad it's good, have a special, kind of little special rating for that, or a little badge, let people know. Bad score, but hey,
Yeah, designation.
Just, watch this one. Okay, all right. That's a happy medium then we come to, kind of.
I think so.
Matt also says, keep up the great work. I was able to add one movie to the watch list and remove another after last week's episode.
Wow, look at that.
That's cool.
That's actually a wonderful note to the note.
However, he says, I can't leave without saying something about The Room.
Oh. See, it's the 1-2 punch, but it's also The Room. That's the Matt D.
Tommy was so sure this was an Oscar-winning film that he rented out a theater for 2 weeks in order to suffice the Academy eligibility requirement of a 2-week theater run. Oh, so you need a 2-week theater run for it to be eligible.
I think they show a little bit of that in The Disaster Artist, which we covered on that episode.
Right. Mm-hmm. He actually thought it was going to be an Oscar win that he rented out a theater for 2 weeks. Wow.
Well, Tommy Wiseau is he's an oddball. He's a man of mystery, certainly.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That's a great, yeah. Well, thanks, Matt. That's a fact I had no idea.
I like that.
And how about that? He's using the guide. Added a movie, took off a movie of his own list.
Fantastic. That's mission accomplished right there. And we're slowly building our room understanding. We're gonna have a whole variety hour.
Matt needs to start a podcast about the room itself.
Yeah, just in the room.
The creation, the execution of the room with Tommy Wiseau. Wow. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Matt, we thank you for producing the episode.
Oh, yes.
This is episode 59. You're executive producer, the only producer. And overall, thank you so much for continuing to produce the daily ratings. Folks, if you're listening to this, wondering what this is, again, we're thanking Matt here for keeping the podcast going. This is going off the value for value model. Is the podcast valuable? Is the site valuable? Getting value out of it like Matt is, with his own personal movie list that he has going on. The idea is you go to the donations tab at thedailyratings.com, and through monetary support, whatever your value is, you can send our way. You can write in a note, just like Matt did, and we'll read it here at this section of the podcast, kind of the producer segment. And it's a way to speak, that you can speak to us, we can speak to you, have open dialogue here, and it's great to have this connection with you. And it helps us keep going because we want to stay away from corporate advertising, and this is just a different way of doing things, and we think podcasts are kind of going to start going this way. We don't like Patreon for certain reasons, and this is kind of just its own a different form of doing things on a podcast. We're not flooding you with ads. We're not doing a tier structure because that's kind of silly. But basically, if you're getting value from it, just send some value our way.
Absolutely. And so much importance on that dialogue. We have been absolutely adoring any kind of note sent in because we get to talk to all of you. Much appreciated, Matt. And of course, thank you for the continued producership.
Yeah, we definitely thank you. He's going to send in more big words now on me.
He's going to hit you with the dictionary.
Inimitable.
Inimitable. We got to Google this right now.
Matt, go ahead.
I'm trying to think what would be related with Mark Ruffalo.
The prolific and inimitable. He's using big words on me. He's going to use more now. He's going to be having a thesaurus next time he's writing out his 2 donation notes next week. Matt D. Thanks, Matt D. We appreciate it. Again, you're executive producer of episode 59.
Absolutely.
Okay, folks, so we're going to move on to our next 3 here. This is now playing, the now in theaters film. So we'll start with The Banshees of Inisherin.
Also, The Banshees of hard names to pronounce.
I'm actually really excited to hear about this one.
Yeah.
Because the boys are back from In Bruges.
Yes, you picked it up.
Yeah, they teamed up, and
it's the same guy. It's the same director.
Yeah, who's really good.
Yeah.
So this is Martin
McDonough?
Yeah, Martin McDonough, and he did 3 Billboards.
Yep.
So for people know, In Bruges is great, and kind of a low budget, but one of those films that always it's always on like top 10 lists.
Yes, definitely perfect dark comedy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then he takes long gaps, but when he does a movie, he's very involved in it. He does the writing, he does the directing. When he picks, he kind of has his guys that he likes too.
Yeah, absolutely.
His actors and everything like that. So he also did 7 Psychopaths,
which is kind of is all right.
Right, it's all right.
Honestly, is an outlier among his filmography.
But it is different. So, and then of course the last thing he did was 3 Billboards, correct?
Yes.
Which is obviously
huge, monumental movie,
and it's on the must-watches.
Yeah, 88. I gave 3 Billboards. Love that movie.
So
I really do love that movie.
It is fantastic.
Yeah,
and he's back again. And again, this is the duo with Colin Farrell and what is his name?
Gleason, Brendan Gleason.
Yes, Brendan Gleason.
Yep.
The 2 guys that were in Bruges, which we obviously really like. Kind of set up, what are we doing here in Ireland again? What's our main story?
The Irish special. Honestly, this is a very small film. This not only takes place on the remote island of Inisherin, not only on top of that, it is about kind of mundanity, monotony, melancholy, a lot of M's. When it comes to this film, it is a dark comedy, and I want to put emphasis on the dark side of that. But you're kind of watching this film, and I would say the first 30 minutes, you're wondering where it's going at all. But I'm here to say that even though it is a very awkwardly paced, certainly awkward in dialogue and how lines are delivered, it is absolutely worth your time because it after a while, the more time you spend with these characters, the more you get invested, and the plot really does go somewhere. But the initial pitch here is that it's, like I said, a very rural Irish setting. There's little to do but leisure, drinking at the pub, and aimless chatting. And
See, where I really like Martin McDonagh,
Sure.
though, is his writing.
Yes.
I love his writing. And now his dialogue in Bruges was fantastic.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, his 3 Billboards was kind of more just lifelike.
Sure,
Very
sure.
believable almost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do we get here?
I think it continues in that lifelikeness.
Is it in Bruges where it's kind of
Yes.
funny and I don't know.
It's also funny because of how Irish these people are. They'll just say something. I wouldn't call it dry humor, but it's the jokes are not waiting for the audience to laugh as a punchline. It's rapid fire. It's going through in conversation really.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you watch this again. You're picking up on more things.
Oh, for
more
sure.
kind of funny bits where it's. I would assume, knowing his writing, you got to pay attention a little bit to really enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just in the same way, I was paying attention the first 30 minutes, and it's kind of like, all right, well, where is this going? And the longer we spend the time with the characters, it does pay off, luckily. I think, unfortunately, that may be lack of understanding of where this is going maybe played into some box office performance. I had to see this at 11 a.m. showing. That's
my favorite showing.
I know it is.
It's my favorite showing.
The early bird.
I love the 11 a.m. movie.
Like I said, little to do on this island. Really aimless chatting is kind of the focus. That is definitely a theme of the film itself, as odd as that sounds. So, but when Gleason's character, out of the two, we have, of course, Colin Farrell, a lost puppy dog of a man, and Brendan Gleeson, his former best friend. Gleeson has enough of this endless chatting, and he cuts off ties with Farrell completely. Where I want to maybe give, because right now, that I don't think that sells a movie. I think why this is a dark comedy is Gleeson does take it to a very drastic extreme to cut off the friendship between him and Farrell's character. Colin Farrell's character, again, is just this lost puppy dog of a man. He has a donkey that is, I think, a perfect, like a miniature donkey as well, that he invites inside his house. And looks adorable, but is kind of a perfect reflection of him as a character. It's just like this innocent, nice little pet almost. And the film unpacks Gleeson never wanting to be friends with him again. And I mean, there's really not much more to it. That's it. I struggled writing the review on this one because I really enjoyed the film for a lot of different reasons. But
this is where this guy works so well.
Yeah.
Because his writing is so good and the acting's good.
Yes,
I mean, we like these guys.
Absolutely.
They're good at what they do. It's very Irish.
Extremely.
But like it just goes to show how good the director, and he did write this, correct?
Yes,
because that's his jam.
100%.
It's such a testament to him because it's probably could have been such shit.
Yeah, it's just a small story, but that's also kind of the point of how small it is,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just writing a small story because he doesn't want to deal with actors or writing, he couldn't get funding. It's very intentional for why it's so small.
And it's very bare bones. So if anything's failing, it's done. The movie is
very
bad.
true.
You know what I mean? There's no
Very
fluff or there's nothing to cover up anything.
Yeah.
It's all about your writing. It's all about the acting.
Absolutely.
All about the directing.
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point with that because it is, I mean, it's about kind of the interpersonal relationships. I mean, kind of in the story premise of best friends no longer being best friends or breaking up. It brings in the relationships on the sidelines that observe this and observe the impact. And that as well just gives, even a side performance, a supporting role, if that wasn't on point, that could kind of even crumble the whole thing for how low stakes realistically it is.
Yes, yeah.
Once again, like The Wonder, very muted, very sad, and very Irish. I would say even more so than The Wonder, the cinematography of the landscapes of this rural Irish island. I mean, it is gorgeous. It is, breathtaking.
Nice looking.
And it kind of plays into these muted colors, It's very heartwarming at times as well. So I think there was a good follow through of cold outside, where conversations are happening inside. There's a follow through to that's where we're feeling the heartwarming tones of it, which is of course just really good design that McDonough can coordinate, orchestrate, however you want to word that, because he's writing, directing. I mean, this is as much of his baby as Three Billboards
as
or
anything else.
Yeah,
literally anything else he does.
Bingo.
It's weird that his first films, and like even if how low budget they are, he always just has the cast.
Yeah, he's
It's
got
like,
it.
That's the biggest thing when I went back. I think it was when I was putting some of his films on the site, on the website, where I was just like, where did he come from? Where does he get entrusted with money, or these actors say yes? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because everyone in Hollywood has a script, if not two, in their back pocket that they're pitching to everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, every
for sure.
bartender, every waiter has a script.
Right, they're just ready. It's in the holster.
So it's just like all props to him.
Yeah, and props to him because again, it's all in the execution, and I think that's really my main note for this one. I can't talk about it too much because not only did I like where it unfolded, again, it's just a very small story. If let's say this was a film I did not like, I'd maybe be all right kind of giving a little bit more away about it just because that would be part of the criticism, maybe that it went nowhere. But this film does go somewhere and it rewards the time that you spend with characters. But yeah, it's I would say what keeps you in the game is just seeing how far Gleason goes to break up his friendships. Which in itself, I mean, it's been a while since this scene in Bruges. They kind of had a similar kind of butting heads as well in that, right?
Yes. Yeah, kind of.
Because I think Gleason definitely hated Farrell's character in Bruges.
No.
No?
No, it wasn't quite like that.
Oh, okay.
There was a separation,
I'm forgetting a little bit.
there was a forced separation between the two.
Yes.
We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Like I said, small story, not bad by any means, but also getting a lot of praise. I think I strike a little bit of a balance between the big praise this film is getting. I thought this was very good. For me, I wonder how many people this is going to hit for. I should say, rather, for the ratings, not even just for me. How many is this going to hit for? And hopefully, the areas that we've discussed already can kind of give you some feel. If you like his prior work, if you like dialogue driven, if you like the actors, hopefully that can give you kind of some sense of direction a little bit with it. This director here, he continues to prove himself as a force in writing and directing unique experiences. And I can't say that the odd tone will be for everyone, but the story really paid off. It pays off more and more the more time you spend with the performances and the characters. I think credit goes to acting performances, but I think the special ingredients is in the writing itself. We're going to go ahead and give The Banshees of Inisherin a 74.
Oh, okay. That's lower than I thought.
Really?
What's lacking that's keeping it from the 80s? Is it just too small of a story?
I think maybe.
That surprises me.
Yeah. I mean, I reflected a lot on this film, but...
Because it's one step, basically, because The Wonder got a 73.
Yes.
So that's how much Pew is...
Right.
Not holding it up. You like the story.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So...
I think for me, when it comes down to, for this one, why maybe it would stay out of the 80s, because what is this getting online? This is getting like universal praise.
Kind of. I will say the Rotten Tomatoes is pretty split. Well, it's getting the critics gave it a 98. Of course. And the audience gave it a 75.
Okay.
Which an audience 75.
I'm usually higher than audience.
Well, audience scores. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's weird. Metacritic, it's a very good Metacritic score.
Sure.
Very good Metacritic score.
I mean, maybe on some further reflection with this one, I could appreciate it more. I just think when I walked out, I was already happy with where the story went. I was already happy with the relationships and the performances. But there was a fundamental aspect that I wasn't saying, oh, you gotta go see
it. It can only go so far.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So, maybe that's good evidence that people will really love the dialogue even more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I just wasn't getting every nugget of dialogue because of how Irish it was, and even the comedy of how fast paced it moves.
I wonder if this gets better with age or more watches.
I think so. Definitely appreciation for how much the dialogue is layered. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, $74 for the band. I actually can't wait to watch this.
That's
I
great.
think I might get this on right away this week because
Go
those
to
two
the
together.
11
Well, I
a.m.
love
the early
yeah.
bird. If it's still in theaters,
hopefully
I was
not.
pulling teeth to get this one done.
It was never in a lot of theaters, and it's still in not many, but it's
Yeah.
in some. It is. It's not. It's not in 50. It's in 800 or so.
Yeah. I would say this much. I would be really happy if this did get some Oscar nominations because it's so unique.
It is getting that kind of praise, and if it does get Oscar noms, this might have some legs in theaters too.
Yeah, kind of a re-release, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe it won't hit thousands in theaters, but it might stick around for a little bit for those 11. And if you want to get up, go have the Denny's Grand Slam breakfast at 5 a.m. and head to the movies at 11. You'll see me there.
You'll see me. Wasn't Denny's doing a tie-in not too long ago? Some film I mentioned Denny's was a tie-in.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember that.
It was some probably superhero,
Okay, so we're going to move on here. This next film is called She Said, directed by Maria Schrader. And this one I'm a little bit in the dark about here. So could you set it up for us? What do we have? And did you enjoy it? Another theater watch?
Yeah, this one, last week we covered Spotlight, and that was kind of in prep to have me call heads or tails on a modern kind of investigative journalism. These kind of investigative journalism films are no stranger to the term Oscar bait because they have an important topic they're obviously covering, a very serious tone. Like I noted with Spotlight, you can hear it a mile away in that very pensive piano score, self-important piano score, and boom, that's all you need for the nod. I will say, She Said is a topic I was a little bit more interested in than Spotlight. We focus on two reporters in the New York Times breaking the numerous sexual harassment cases against, of course, the now infamous Harvey Weinstein. So having this be the Weinstein not biopic, but the Weinstein, kind of spotlight.
Yeah.
I think I was more attached to that as the end topic than in Spotlight with, more of the kind of the yuckiness of that topic.
Can I poke holes in this immediately? Or potentially?
Sure. Go crazy.
I thought Rowan Farrow was the guy who really broke.
A part of the New Yorker. It's actually referenced in the movie. Apparently that was something that was squashed or something like that. You bring up a good point.
Well, it's because I'm assuming this is about these two or three journalists. How many journalists?
Two, yes.
So we have two journalists. And
real journalists, of course.
Right. But they're claiming that they were the first ones,
to
publish and actually bring the story out.
In the plot, the New Yorker column is released, but then they say it was either squashed by lawyers or kind of brushed under the rug. I agree, though. I was kind of scratching my head over the timeline and the presented, biography or biographical events.
Because Rowan Farrow then came, there's a second wave of him, and then he with the whole Matt Lauer and everything like that.
Right.
Huh.
So, I don't know. It could be portraying things. I'm not coming out too hot for this film, though, so I'm not going to say go watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's worth
that's weird to me.
Serious scrutiny.
I guess it's tough to pick it apart, but already I'm annoyed
if it's
I mean, talk about Oscar bait.
Bit.
It's just it's one is the New York Times,
Bingo,
and two, it's two head females.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. It's a little tough, and almost identical to Spotlight. The focus of the topic is heavy and compelling. That as an end goal for reporters. I think that is enough to get us engaged in the story structure. We have our end destination, which I like as a writing or as a tactic in making a script or in a plot that we pay attention to.
Yeah.
But in this comparison, She Said does not have the same magic, and I think for me it boils down. I mean, not to that the films can't be different, but believe me, they try to be the same. She Said does not have that great electric team structure of Spotlight, and I'll get into. And I think it really falls on performances, unfortunately. Something good.
Well, and you naturally don't have. Do you have that? I don't want to say do you really have that main core cast? How much is the two girls, the two reporters, compared to the rest of the
four? Of a crack team of four.
Right, exactly,
with packed actors as well. I agree. It's
it's already starting lower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will say I have plenty of notes on this. Carey Mulligan, very good. Zoe Kazan, very bad.
Very bad. Okay.
Well, I'll get into it in just a sec. One thing that is better is that it does not have the same issue as Spotlight in the sense that we are not getting constant repeat information. Despite both topics being horrible, the variety of interviews, professionals, victims give a variety that keeps us guessing a little bit with the topic of Weinstein, where with Spotlight, it was really rinse repeat, and definitely understand that was the whole point of the kind of the story, that these are almost identical in how they come about. Here, it was just a little bit more engaging because it wasn't always the same. There were different circumstances.
Okay.
So performances, though, pull this one down seriously for me. Our two leads, Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan. Mulligan is decent here. I enjoyed her character most out of the two. She has a few different personal challenges within the plot that I felt added extra tension needed to their discovery of the Weinstein story. Also, Carey Mulligan, I think, is a much better actress in comparison. She is really doing, just in scenes with Kazan, just a much better job, much more engaging on screen.
So there's a problem not having much to work with then for Mulligan.
Not having much to work with.
As far as like going up against having a back and forth, like that ping pong that we always talk about.
Bingo.
She's got nothing to work with.
Absolutely.
So we can say it's dropping the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And obviously these two are real people, so there's a approach to make it accurate, and you're not trying to just ham it up. It's about telling a true story, or the acting performance is true to life. But I am sorry to say, I felt Kazan was terrible in this, and wow. She's she's a young actress. She plays this nerdy woman that is very soft spoken. The point of the story is not for her to overcome that soft spokenness. So believe me, I'm not saying that she needed a character arc or something. It's about the victims. It's about Weinstein. But she is absolutely outright steamrolled in any scene to the point that, even bit characters playing victims or professionals around Weinstein are even just, again, steamrolling her in the scene. There is no ping pong. There is no back and forth.
It's a total drop ball.
Yeah. And, certainly she shows empathy. Certainly, I have no doubt that this very nerdy woman is true to life in some form to the reporter in the New York Times, but where there was praise that I had for Mulligan in her little bit of, a little bit of character building that we get amidst discovering the topic and reporting on the topic. Kazan has just nothing. There is no back and forth dialogue scenes, which are nearly all of them, because this is investigative base,
Right.
Detective base, if you will, if you're looking for more of a umbrella term to it. It's a chore to get through with her. It's a downright chore to get through. So, and I hate to be so mean, because she hasn't been around the block too many times with acting performances or other movies, her filmography. I haven't seen her in anything else, but yeah, it was just bad. It was just bad.
Wow. That's no good then.
Made it a snoozer, made me dying to see Mulligan on screen again and again, specifically when they are both on screen.
Yeah.
There's nothing given, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the only thing that I'll maybe track back here is, again, if this was a flawless performance to the real life person. I'll track it back a little bit. It still makes a boring movie, though.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just like what we talked about with Ruffalo with Spotlight.
Yep.
If the guy talked like that
for
the movie,
absolutely.
Don't talk like that.
Yes, absolutely.
So if the real reporter was a snoozer, don't be a snoozer in the movie.
We got a movie to make here, but yeah, that's just honestly my honest. That's my honest thoughts on it.
Is this movie for anybody?
I think it is for Oscars. I think it is for people that truly care about Weinstein's crimes. I mean, he's obviously in jail until probably he's going to die. So
right, for sure. As long as you're getting it would be nice. So it's based on a book apparently that came out as well.
Okay.
So everything happens very quick. That happened. Book comes out, then this comes out. I just think it's important to get everything Right. Again, I don't know. So much was happening during that time, and there was so much story about it.
Sure.
It's weird. I just feel like there's other people involved also that were like doing a lot of work on this.
Yeah,
That's all.
And I think you bring up a phenomenal point because it's not something I really had notes on, but I there was a moment where I said, all right, do I really want to go through the mental exercise of tracking every factoid back and the timeline of it? You know what I mean? Right. So maybe there's a suspension of disbelief that it's a movie. They can portray it.
And it's based on the book.
Yes.
And I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I will say to your one point, though, a lot of things are noted within dialogue of this film. And clearly are other events happening outside the realm of New York Times.
Yeah, because there's a lot more going on than these reporters. Like, there's I don't understand. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't help that the cinematography and the directing is presented.
Hey, the New York Times says it's a quiet thriller that speaks volumes.
It doesn't now.
They shouldn't even. I can't believe they even had a reporter. Can you believe the New York Times? The New York Times.
They should be allowed to review.
They
this.
shouldn't be able to even write an article about
of interest. That's so true. Like I was saying, the cinematography, the directing, it does not help that it is almost portrayed like a documentary. It makes this film very visually boring, and it's a shame because I actually enjoy the cinematographer here, Natasha Breyer. Mm-hmm. She does a fair amount of work I enjoy, specifically Neon Demon, which is boring cinematography is the exact opposite of how I would describe Neon Demon.
Yeah, she does the Gringo, which look pretty cool and kind of vibrant.
Yeah.
And a little...
You hit the nail on the head, vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I like saturated. I like oversaturated things. Mm-hmm. Like even going back, like that's why I've always loved Samsung phones going back. But that's what I kind of get. She also did Honey Boy too. So she's definitely well known. It's yeah.
Who knows? Well, maybe we'll review that for our boy Sean.
For producer Sean, yeah.
For producer Sean, yeah.
But boy, that's the only thing you have good coming out of this then.
Yeah, listen, don't get me... Well, actually, one last note. One last note. A real pet peeve I have with this is obviously... Weinstein is, in the story operating. He's not in prison. You know what I mean? We get a Weinstein impersonator that does a pretty good job. We don't see his face though. There is I should say the multiple scenes we get with Weinstein in conflict, trying to push back on this story. Mm-hmm. I would describe those within the script, within the plot, as the most interesting. We have finally the accusers, or the ones that are going after him, confronting the villain. If you want to see it as the villain of the story, the villain in real life.
For sure.
Those scenes are what this type of story builds up to in the pacing of a plot like this, to actually get that confrontation. There is a scene that Weinstein is brought into the New York Times office, and it is presented as a entirely muted scene that we don't even get to see the impersonator. We don't get to see what they're saying, and it did such a poor job. Even with the scope of this film, let's say we can call it even a hit piece for Weinstein, rightfully so, but it's designed to trash him. It was so frustrating from a story perspective not to see that climactic moment actually play out.
That's what you would want. You want that he's the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You want some adversity with the bad guy.
Exactly. If anything, make him more villainous. Show that. And I just was scratching my head. I said, wow. I mean, to have the single most electric point in your plot be muted. And again,
and it's like it's dancing around sensitivities, probably,
or
something like that. But at the same time, you're making a movie here.
Exactly. If anything, make him look like more of an asshole. Really trash him in that scene.
Yeah. That's it's so true. Yeah, because you could do anything with his own language and speech. Then too, you could make him into the most evil person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was really confronted with just an approach for realism, sure, that credit is deserved there. There's also a fundamental aspect that you have to make a movie. You have to make an electric
Well, yeah, you
script.
want to see the asshole.
Yeah.
Which he naturally is. He's naturally just the biggest douche ever.
Even how he talks within the film. It was disappointing. So, listen, don't get me wrong. I feel the story and the scope of Weinstein's crimes it's worthy of a film. I think this was handled tastefully and really never dipped into exploiting victims in any way. And in that, the film is effective at championing the victims. It is not at all about championing Weinstein or different perspective. It is about the victims and being a good representation without exploiting their obviously their horrible trauma here.
Right.
However, I thought this film was painfully plain. Did very little to tell this story creatively, and it almost tips the needle on a soft recommend, mostly on Carey Mulligan's performance, but the film lacks such punch that, honestly, for a topic that needed to have punch, and I feel like that's a particular failure of the film. We're going to go ahead and give She Said a 49.
Ooh, 49.
Yeah. Wait
very
for Oscar
strategic,
season.
very strategic rating there, Vin.
You like that? Wait until Oscar season to have this sweep through every award.
Was this better or worse? I don't know if you rated it or not.
What?
You might have. Bombshell, the Roger Ailes thing.
Oh, I didn't even think about Bombshell. I think this was worse than Bombshell.
Yeah.
Because Bombshell,
There's a lot of Roger Ailes.
Yeah, and they were happy to make these executives look like assholes.
Right. Yeah.
Or scumbags. So, and this was just lacking that.
Sure. Okay, so She Said, he said it was a 49, so.
Wow. On the fly.
However, we should note the New York Times liked the movie.
Yes. Biased.
Okay, Vin, all right, so we're going to go ahead to our last one here. This film is called The Menu. It's directed by Mark Mylod, and it's got a really big cast here, starting with Ralph Fiennes, Anna Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult. What do we get here, and how was your experience?
So let me just say, this film I was not looking forward to. This film is not what you expect it to be, and I loved it.
Okay, let's start from the top.
Yeah, sure.
Why weren't you looking forward to it? You have comedy, horror, thriller. It kind of seems up your alley.
It's short.
And Ralph Fiennes.
Right. Love Ralph Fiennes. For me, it looked like Blumhouse trash. It looked like, just cookie cutter horror, and I'll go into a little bit of the pitch here. But yeah, that's why I wasn't looking forward to it.
Very fair. Okay.
Yeah. But not at all what I expected, and I loved it. So that's where I want to quickly move away from my expectations, because they are nowhere near to the film. Mark Mylod directs here, and a acclaimed
TV guy.
Yeah,
big
TV guy. While this is a big thriller and it may catch people's eyes because of marketing, I think a lot of viewers might feel at home with the presentation here. His work is Succession, Game of Thrones, Shameless, Entourage, basically on the HBO take.
And like he did 13 episodes of Succession. He's not like that.
Right.
He did an episode.
Sure. Or my go-to is always Scorsese with Boardwalk Empire. He
nice.
did one episode.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. I did Shameless too. I don't know if you said that.
Yeah. Shameless. I would say, there's a thread between those examples or his work is very a polished and slick look, and very similarly here, he has a very polished look to the film, and it's on display in his directing. So, again,
did it feel like you were watching a TV show?
In ways, actually, but in good ways.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. Again, surprising. Even in those being maybe some pre-notes for me in researching the film. Again, I thought it, that would maybe be a negative for me, because I don't like TV directing too much, and I haven't seen a huge amount of these shows and whatnot, despite a lot of acclaim.
Yeah, you got enough going on your plate. You need that shows to it.
Yeah, people. I don't know. My go-to is always Game of Thrones is the lesson of why I don't stick with serialized TV, because you never know when it's gonna, it's not gonna pay off. So, but yeah, The Menu stars a lot of big faces, as you noted already, Tom. Most notably Ralph Fiennes and Anya Taylor-Joy. By the trailer alone, the elevator pitch here is Michelin star high-end restaurant turned into a horror thriller. And with that alone, folks at home, Tom, you're probably guessing on how that story will go, what twists it will have, what characters play a role in moving the story along. So I was expected to really roll my eyes at this film. I was not excited for this one. But let me tell you, I was dead wrong. This film was so refreshing, so unexpected, and a joy to watch. This was a great movie. It was really just like a solid movie, to go to the theater, to experience it with an audience.
Okay, good.
Good on its own, solid movie.
Very cool.
And totally out of left field.
So how does it balance the comedy and horror / thriller? Because we always talk about the balance of it. It's difficult to do, and yet so often done.
So often.
The writers here, you're not dealing with horror writers. You're dealing with these two guys came from The Onion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Seth Rice and Will Tracy.
Yeah.
They're kind of like Onion guys.
Yeah, which is comedy in itself. So I think I'm excited to say that this was probably comedy was the strongest element of this film.
Okay, so did horror take a back seat?
Not really. I maybe not
it was
horror.
Just a nice dance.
More thriller.
Okay,
more thriller.
All right, gotcha.
And the comedy I would say was a huge highlight for me. Just knowing how to build a gag throughout the film. Actually,
yeah.
So. Wow, was this a surprise, though? Against all odds, a unique experience and just a blast to watch in theaters. When I saw this movie, I expected nothing more than, what mass-produced horror looks like nowadays.
Yeah,
and
trivial.
Exactly. Think about how predictable that premise could play out. Oh, what character is going to escape? Oh, what tools are going to be? You know what I mean? That elevator pitch does not sound original, but it is all in the execution, and this film had it. So it's not what you expect, and it is super refreshing. So forgive me if I maybe lack on summary a little bit.
I was literally just going to say, you've got to dance around this, don't you?
Yeah, a little
Which is
bit.
not a bad thing.
I mean, the elevator pitch is, again, restaurant thriller, kind of. High-end restaurant thriller.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Especially with Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say add this to the list of great movies about food, Big Night and Pig. Being on that list.
Yeah.
So it's good food movie. I don't know, that could be a special maybe.
I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a special.
Yeah, good food movie.
By the way, side note, I hear there's going to be like a Pig 2. There's going to be a sequel to Pig.
Oh, really?
Just saying.
Wow.
But, yeah.
With
of course.
Why am I?
Of course.
Okay.
Nick Cage?
Yeah, I don't know how I forgot Nick Cage. But yeah, my note here, also a genuinely funny film. I think a lot comes from the many personalities of the diners and the guests at the restaurant. There are two critics that are like high-end critics that I was busting up at, just like up their own ass. They were,
Yeah.
It also maybe clock back some of my own notes a little bit if I get too wordy. So it was a nice reminder, and also just like solid.
Wow.
Character writing. That it's not the biggest thing in the world, but being able to keep the plot fresh of going around to each table while they're eating the courses and getting just like a little bit of insight into each of them. It doesn't have to be a big exposition. We get little nuggets as the night goes on of each of them. And now we're familiar with everyone.
Yeah,
it was a good way to parcel it up,
Yeah, that's a cool way to do character development.
Yeah. And like I said, running gags, but a one specific running gag. I mean, this was excellent. You could feel the audience laughing more and more, but also towards the end as it came back again and again, you felt almost the anticipation of when it was coming on screen, and it was just amazing. It was really solid. So,
when did you see this? Like, how was? It sounds like at least some people were in the theater then with you.
Yeah, this was opening night Friday, and absolutely packed. Not a single seat missing.
Really?
Yeah, this was, and that's
because this is not some big blockbuster.
That's where I made the note about some of the marketing budget, because I feel like this is being pushed out. I could be wrong though. I don't.
It makes me very happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's second in theaters. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you were sitting there, you're walking in there, and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and watch this movie. How long? It's an hour and 47 minutes. How long in were you just like, oh, I'm enjoying this?
I I would say almost right away.
Oh,
almost.
that's
And
good.
maybe not like, from the word go. Because again, I kind of had to be knocked on my ass a little bit with my own assumptions about it. But but yeah, I would say pretty much the whole ride. Also, I did a double feature. I did She Said first and then this, and boy, was this a breath of fresh air of an actually entertaining movie, But I won't shit on She Said much more. But yeah, and one of the areas where I think this TV experience with Malad is coming into play is that throughout the movie, this is obviously about a tasting menu. It's a high-end restaurant. We get these mock shots of like a chef's table on Netflix where we have these ultra high fidelity shots coming in on the meals or on the courses.
Yep.
And the way that this film is able to effectively and almost 100% precisely mock these shots is hats off, because it's something in a moment that I think a lot of viewers will be familiar with, even if they've never dined at one of these, super high-end places.
Sure, yeah.
And as well, they're like seriously gorgeous within the film. So I was really adoring these kind of chef table-esque high fidelity shots, if that makes sense. Are you familiar with Chef Table, Tom?
Enough to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's basically just, the course plated up and slow zoom, high fidelity camera coming into it, and list of ingredients, and having that as a through line in the film was really good. It was awesome, because
cool.
that's what I think is going to make this a good food movie, if you will, the very small subgenre of good food movie, that there was appreciation to the food as well. So
very cool.
Also, last praise, soundtrack by Colin Stetson, one of the most creative voices in modern experimental jazz, adds quite a bit to the high-end feel of this film. Wow. We've seen Colin Stetson do a lot of different soundtracks as of late. I'm just excited to see him do it, because he's a very, very unique musician. So
was it? He did Outlaw and Angels, and then he also did stuff for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yes.
Is it West? Do we get Western?
Yeah, it's Western, and he's primarily like a saxophonist, but he has I don't know.
I would love
too much to go into.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
but we know how music can add or subtract from a film, so that's cool.
And here he was able to bring kind of a unique, twisted, high class feel to it. So
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those things that I kind of I felt appreciation for the soundtrack recently. Been listening to soundtracks as I kind of refine some notes, and that's usually where some dots are connected.
Yeah.
Honestly, born from Bodies, and me not catching that it was Disaster Piece.
Right.
So now I've learned, and now it's changed. So I've said enough. Go watch this film in the theaters, have a blast, and be pleasantly surprised on where it goes, and especially where it doesn't. We're going to go ahead and give the menu a 78.
Wow, that's a great score. Can't wait. And folks, you really can. It's a wide release. It just came out. This has not been out for a bit or anything, because some of these other ones we did have been out for a few weeks at least.
Yeah, we try to get to them as fast as possible.
This is fresh.
Yeah.
And a 78. Yeah, go see it in theaters. That's cool that you had a good theater experience with this.
Yeah, and so crowded and good too. You know what I mean? Crowded theater doesn't always equal good.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's what a nice little topping you had here.
I know, and I'm happy about it too. I didn't want to end with a bad topic.
Yeah, and going in there and getting surprised about something is that's pretty cool and exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, great, Vin. So looking at these scores here, anything you want to add, touch on, or are we going to roll credits here?
No, I think we're good to go.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you for watching, and we appreciate you stopping by. Folks at home, we'll run it down one more time here. We have Wendell and Wild with a 63%. The Wander with a 73, The Banshees of Inisherin with a 74, She Said with a 49, and The Menu with a 78%. Folks, we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would you give us a good rating or tell a friend about us? If you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. And if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you received from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors. So we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.